Welcome to Virginia Beach City Public Schools Pathway Series 3. I am Allison Hill and I am a school counselor at Green Run High School. I will be your moderator today. We will be focusing on frequently asked questions for our out-of-state colleges and universities. We surveyed our students and families before today's event to generate questions for our out-of-state representatives in this panel. If your question is not answered today, we have included their contact information and other valuable admissions resources in the description of this event. Please remember also your school counselor is available to help you with the college admissions process. Let's get started by I'd like to ask each representative to briefly talk about one interesting fact about their school and what makes them proud to be affiliated with their school. And we'll start with Yvonne with Penn State.
Great. Thank you so much, Allison, for that question. So one of those things that's very unique about Penn State is we have one of the world's largest student-run philanthropies in the world. We actually raised over $11 million for pediatric cancer that, we host a 46-hour nonstop dance marathon. And then that's what it's called. It's called Thon. It's the world's largest student-run philanthropies. And that is really encapsulates the entire reasoning behind why students pick Penn State is that we have the high school spirit. It is not just that you're coming here as a student or a number to us, you're part of our community. We have one of the largest living alumni networks, and that's how we build upon that strong alumni network. And students are surely very successful here. Thank you, Allison.
Thank you so much. Clayton from Auburn University.
Yeah, so for Princeton Reviews 2020, we were #1 with colleges with the happiest students. So we've been in the top 20 for the past 5 years. So Auburn people love Auburn. That's why 93% of our graduates said they would do it all over again. So like Penn State, it's a lot of pride for the university and becoming a part of a family that's bigger than you. It's becoming a part of, not only the students on campus, but the alumni network and that family.
Thank you so much. And Ronnie from North Carolina State.
So for North Carolina State, I would say that our research campus, Centennial Campus, is something that we are very proud of. It is, our own research campus where we partner with over 80 businesses and government agencies. So many students will have internship, co-op, or research right here on campus. So they're able to still take classes and things like that. So we do provide a lot of support for students who are interested in doing those types of things while they're in their college career.
Thank you so much. And Ariel from Elizabeth City State University.
All right, so we have a 4-year aviation program. We have 12 airplanes and we have 4 flight simulators, so that's super interesting. Students can drive their freshman year. They can get a room to themselves, which is basically unheard of on campuses. And you're looking at small classroom sizes, so teachers know your first and your last name, and if you're goofing off, had a long night out, or so forth. So that makes a difference as well.
Thank you. And Allie from East Carolina University.
Yeah, I would say that our students are definitely given the opportunity to make a difference in the state of North Carolina. So we're actually considered the healthcare university of the state of North Carolina. We graduate the most healthcare professionals in the state. And so that to me is showing that our students really directly affect the community that they're going to be a part of.
Thank you. Quiana from Florida A&M University.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having us today. What makes FAMU very interesting and very unique is that we have been named the highest ranked public HBCU for 2 years in a row. We are one of the highest ranked HBCUs in the world as well. There are a lot of great and very innovative things going on at FAMU, but one thing that stuck out to me as a new professional, I've only been working at FAMU for a month, is the infrastructure of the university. We literally sit on top of a hill in Tallahassee, Florida, so you can just imagine all of the things that really means for the university and for the city of Tallahassee.
Thank you. And Elizabeth from Alabama University.
Okay, so one interesting fact about Alabama is that we are one of only 2 schools
Elizabeth, you're breaking up
to be
just a little
proud
bit.
about being in Alabama. Yeah, the tree is bending sideways outside my window. I apologize.
That's
Y'all
okay.
got me back? Okay. So sorry about that. So back to what an interesting fact is that we're one of only 2 schools in the country that has a commercial TV station on campus where our students can. Then we also have a very strong alumni network, and that's fueled by our out-of-state students, which during the time that I've been at Alabama, we went from majority out-of-state to a majority in-state school to a majority out-of-state school. And I'm really proud that I've done a lot to help that, because Virginia is one of our top 10 states. And so that makes me proud to be part of Alabama.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And now we're going to start with questions that were submitted by our students and parents within Virginia Beach City Public Schools. Each college representative will answer questions, and if another college representative wants to add to the previous answer, please let me know. So the first question is going to be for Florida A&M University. How is the pandemic affecting college admissions?
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So for Florida A&M, the pandemic isn't really affecting our admissions process that much. We still are adhering to our admissions requirements of a 3.0 GPA. You must make sure that you have those 18 academic units in English, mathematics, science, social studies, foreign language, etc. And our test scores are pretty much still the same. So you're looking at a SAT score of math 26, reading 27, language 27, or ACT of math 22, reading 22, English 19. You still would have to write that 500-word essay that goes along with our application with 2 letters of recommendation. And our new SAR system allows students to self-report. I know that a lot of universities and a lot of states have went test optional. However, Florida as a state has not went test optional, so that means FAMU has not went test optional. So it is very important that any student that is interested in FAMU, that you still take those SAT, ACT tests and do really well on those. I know it seems very unfair. If we had the option, we would definitely go test optional, just because we know all of the crazy things that are happening in the world. But we do want to just make sure that we encourage students to continue preparing for the SAT, ACT.
Thank you for that information and for letting us know that you all are not test optional. I think that's very important information. Thank you.
No problem.
Does anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, I think I speak for the other schools that are a part of the UNC public school system that we did waive test scores. So we want students to know that, because that's very important in our processes.
Absolutely, thank you. And our next question is for Elizabeth City State University. Is the process for applying in state or out of state different?
No, only process is different when applying is international. That's a whole different ball game. But as far as in-state, out-of-state, we're the same.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, our next question is going to be for Auburn University. What are the most important elements of an application that college admissions look at when evaluating a student for admission?
Yeah, so this can definitely vary from school to school. State to state, and everything like that. So for general admissions, usually university as a whole, we are looking for students that want to be at our universities and believe they'll be successful and stay with us, until they graduate. Specifically at Auburn, we're looking at 3 things. The first, and this is specifically for 2021 students. The first thing is the online application on our website and on the Common App. It comes with 4 short answer responses, just take your time filling those out. We're not looking for a certain answer. We're just looking to hear from you guys. We're also looking at your high school transcript, and we're digging pretty deeply into your transcripts this year. We're looking at your overall weighted cumulative GPA. So everything from your electives to your core courses, weighting those advanced classes, AP, IB, as well as honors, things like that. We are also going to look just at your core GPA. So just how you performed in your fundamental classes, math, science, English, and history. We'll look at course rigor. So, where you are in high school, what courses are offered at your high school? Are there any advanced? Did you take any? So diving deep into those. And then the third component for us this year is just a supplemental document. So we are test flexible this year, and with, test scores being kind of hard for you guys to get as many tests as you would like. So you have four supplemental documents to choose from to complete your application file. The first is a graded writing assignment from high school. The second thing are test scores. So if you have taken the ACT or SAT, you can upload that for us. Third option are AP IB scores. If you've taken those advanced classes and performed well in those exams, you can upload that. And then the fourth option is an expanded resume. So just going through each one of those and picking which one will make you look the most competitive. And I will also say, just overall, following directions with your application, making sure you're answering questions and following the instructions that are on our website, or asking your admissions advisor or counselor. That's what we're here for. We're here to make this process easy and stress-free for you guys.
Thank you so much. I know we have a lot of questions from students and families about that, so thank you for that information. Our next question is going to be for Penn State University. What majors or career fields does your school specialize in?
Okay, so at Penn State, we have over 275 academic programs and over 300 minors. So it's really kind of hard to answer this question in terms of, which career path you're looking for. But what I could say is pre-medicine is very popular here. We do have an accelerated BSMD program that is a 7-year program where you spend the first 3 years at the University Park and you spend the next 3 years at the Thomas Jefferson Hospital in Philadelphia. So that is our accelerated program, but just a regular pre-medicine program is popular. Our engineering, we have every sorts of engineering you can think of: aerospace, mechanical, civil, environmental. That's part of our College of Engineering, but we also have our earth mineral science engineering, which we have petroleum engineering, mining engineering, material science engineering. And then we also have a College of Agricultural Science. There's an academic program called Immunology and Infectious Disease. I'm sure because of the pandemic we're in right now, that might be something you're interested in pursuing. There's pharmacology, toxicology. We also have our veterinary and biomedical science program. It's very popular. We have they are very, very supportive of students, going into medical school and to really prepping them to become a veterinarian. So yeah, I think I would probably go days and days on talking about the academic programs that we have, but that might just kind of give you an example of what we offer.
Thank you. And would you mind elaborating? Are there different admissions requirements for different departments or majors?
Yeah, absolutely. So the only extra requirement we would require for STEM majors is the extra Carnegie unit. We're only requiring a half a year of trigonometry pre-cal or calc. So if you have at least taken one semester of trig, pre-cal, or calc, then you would be able to apply to our STEM majors. So that would just be the only eligibility. In addition to that, for our accelerated BSMD program, we do require an SAT score of 1470 or above, or an ACT of 32 or above. So that might just be something to think of.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, so our next question is going to be for the University of Alabama. Where can students find information about out-of-state tuition?
All of us do post our out-of-state tuition on our website, but more importantly is to not just use the sticker price that's going to be posted there. All of us are required by federal law to have them. And you can put in your information from your FAFSA income, things like that, as well as your academic information to see what your net price is likely to be based on these financial aid that you are likely to be awarded. Keep in mind, they're not perfect, but they definitely can give you a good idea, and it's more important than looking just at the sticker price.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Okay, our next question is going to be for, I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
No, sorry. I wanted to put the reaction button, but I think I've clicked a little too late. But I could just add that Penn State has a tuition calculator. So it's on tuitions.psu.edu. If you guys ever want to just kind of play around with the tuitions, it's very, very simple. And you could even put in how many units, how many credits that you're looking to take. So it's pretty easy.
Thank you. That's a great tool. Thank you so much. And our next question is going to be for North Carolina State. What do you look for in an application essay? Can an essay be too long or too short?
Good question. I would say that an essay could be too long or too short. You know, as we read a lot of applications at NC State, we get about 30,000 applications. So we don't necessarily want to read 5- and 6-page essays. So think about that, looking at the word limits and things like that. And, thinking about what ideas do you want to convey? What question or what prompt was there for the essay is really important. Making sure that you answer that prompt. Obviously, making sure other people look at it, making sure it's well written, but making sure that you're answering the prompt. And then as you're choosing your prompt, if you're applying through Common App where you have some options, you want to think about what do you want to convey to the college that may not be conveyed in other parts of your application. So I think that's really important as well. Think about the entire application, almost like a painting. So thinking about all the different pieces of your painting and making sure that it conveys the total message, telling us who you are as a person, what makes you unique and what makes you special.
Thank you, Ronnie. And how much does your essay weigh and, compared to other parts of the application process?
So we don't necessarily have a specific rubric. I would say that academics, typically at most institutions, the academics, what you've done, in the classroom is going to be very important and is going to be really important to the reader. But the essays are where we get additional context to fill in some of that picture of the painting about who you are. So the grades don't always tell the full story, but they can add some really rich information that help us understand the grades as well.
Thank you so much. And does anybody else have anything they would like to add? And our next question is for East Carolina University. How do students apply for scholarships?
Okay, so this could vary for, other schools. It's definitely different between public and private institutions. For ECU specifically, once a student is admitted, they get information on how to access our ECU Awards database. So it's like its own little thing, its own little database, kind of like if you've ever been on collegescholarships.org. So you submit a general merit-based scholarship application, and it will actually bring up all of our merit-based scholarships that match you and your circumstances. You can also just scroll through every single opportunity we offer to see if there's something that maybe that general scholarship application didn't match you to for some reason. And then kind of outside of that is our honors college. So for most schools, you do have to apply to the honors college. So for us, students that are admitted that meet our criteria for 2021, just that minimum GPA, are automatically told, hey, you qualify for the honors college if you want to go ahead and submit your application. So that's really the process. And then we have our own scholarships department that you can always reach out to get some help there as well.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they wanted to add? Okay, our next question is going to be for Florida A&M University. Are there ways to save money while attending an out-of-state college?
Yes, so I was actually waiting to get to this, and I wanted to speak towards scholarships. So with Florida A&M, we have so many options for students to save money, and that one way is for scholarships. We actually offer an out-of-state fee waiver that's $10,000 annually given to the student. With that out-of-state fee waiver, all you have to do is just display that you are in need. Of course, have all of your documentation have been accepted into the university, that you are taking at least 15 credit hours per semester, and you can qualify for that out-of-state fee waiver. However, we do have a number of scholarships as well. We have if you're interested in business, we have our School of Business and Industry, School of Environment, School of Architecture and Engineering Technology, College of Education. Basically, all of our schools and colleges offer some type of scholarship. Of course, there are deadlines, there are qualifications, but our colleges offer those as well. But we also have Reserves Officer Training Corps scholarships. So if there are any students that are in ROTC in high school, whether Army, Navy, or Air Force, and they want to continue that pursuit, but they also want to get a college education, we have scholarships available for that. We have alumni-based scholarships. We have FAMU Foundation scholarships. Of course, we have our merit-based scholarships as well. So we just try to make sure that we have a number of options available to students. All students have to do is just make sure that they are meeting the deadlines and that they qualify, and we try to assist them as much as possible.
Thank you. It does sound like you have a lot of options. That's great. Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add? So our next question is going to be for Elizabeth City State University. Can a student transfer from a community college in Virginia to an out-of-state four-year college? Excuse me. Is that an easy process?
Absolutely. So I do not handle transfers. I handle freshmen. But what I can tell you is you need 24 transferable credit hours and at least a 2.0 GPA. Say for instance, if it was a dancing school, of course, those courses would not transfer over. So if we offer the course here and the courses align with our curriculum, we definitely will accept those credits.
Fantastic. Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll add something. So a great way to see, because I do work with transfers, I know that they won't be watching this, but I do work with those students as well for ECU. So most schools should have something called a course equivalency guide. So you can actually take your transcript and find the school's course equivalency guide and see, well, specifically for ECU, I don't know if this is the same everywhere else, but those are courses that a student has transferred from like your community college to our school with. So if you don't see a class that you're taking, it's because we haven't had a student transfer in that has taken that class. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to transfer. We can definitely discuss that, but that's always a great resource for anybody that's looking for those. And then you can also look at different schools and see, I know specifically, I'll plug this, we're trying to partner with do a direct admit program from like Tidewater, and I know that's kind of around you guys. So definitely look and see if there are any programs like that at out-of-state schools. There's, to my understanding, not really a mandate saying that, you know, they can only make those within state community colleges. So I'll leave it at that. That was something I wanted to add.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you both. That was some great information. And our next question is going to be for Auburn University. What is the average amount of financial aid that could be awarded for a student?
Yeah, so I mean, this is gonna depend on you and your financial information or your family's financial information, depending on how you're going about it. So if you are seeking financial aid, for Auburn, we get all need-based information from the FAFSA, which they consider your EFC, so your expected family contributions, along with the cost of the institution. Auburn was a little bit above the national average last year for financial aid. So the average is about $9,000 for first year students, and Auburn was a little bit above that. But again, like I said, we get all need-based information. So in addition to FAFSA, other scholarships from the FAFSA. So for us, you do have to fill that out if you would like need-based scholarships too. So those need-based, a lot of people say, I don't think we'll, be eligible for something like the Pell Grant. You still could be considered for need-based scholarships because sometimes it's just a little criteria in a long list of criteria for certain scholarships. So some call for a student who's from out of state who's interested in a STEM degree who shows some sort of need. So by show some sort of need, it could be we get the FAFSA back and it says you need $1 towards tuition. So I always encourage my students to fill it out. You by no means have to, but it does open up your eligibility for not only, governmental money, but also need-based scholarships from your university. Because you can stack that on top of any merit-based scholarships you have, on top of any external scholarships that you may be, seeking out in other places. And that can really, like, Elizabeth and Yvonne mentioned a little bit earlier, looking at those net price calculators on most of our websites, you can see some of that estimated values. So not just looking at the sticker price for tuition and fees, but adding on to that. It does take a little bit of arm work, but it is definitely worth it and helpful.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add? Now, I just wanted to say to our students and parents, remember you can check with your school counselor and your Access College advisor on help with filling out the FAFSA. Our next question is going to be for Penn State University. Can you describe campus life at your school?
Sure. So first of all, Penn State is a campus that we have 20 campuses all over Pennsylvania. So I am from the University Park campus with 46,000 undergraduate students. So we definitely have a very, very large student population. In terms of all of our other campuses around Pennsylvania, they're anywhere from about 500 to 800 on the lower end to about 5,000. So one thing that's very unique about Penn State is the fact that we are ultimately one university. We all collaboratively work together. No matter where you start, where you finish, you're still going to get that ultimate Penn State degree. And that's why you would, on the Common App, you're going to be asked for a first choice campus, an alternate choice campus, a starting campus, and also an ending campus. And that might be very confusing. And that's why I think it's important to take advantage of some of our virtual programming that we are doing to really kind of help answer those questions for students when they're applying to Penn State. But in terms of student life, 46,000 undergraduate students, we're right here in the center of Pennsylvania. We're not in a city at all. We are truly what you call an all-American college town. We have about 50,000 residents. And then again, another, you count it in. So we just have as much students as we have of residents that are here in State College, Pennsylvania. So it's, again, very high school spirited. Everybody, you're going to be walking around in the Happy Valley. They're going to be Penn State related. Penn State is what brings everybody to this town. About 10 streets of just, downtown area, downtown dining, student housing, off-campus housing. Everybody is going to be all around within 10 minutes from where you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else want to add anything? Okay, so our next question is going to be for University of Alabama. How do out-of-state students get to and from college? Do you provide transportation assistance for out-of-state students?
So Elizabeth actually emailed me, so she popped out, but I do know the answer as the other state school, the large state school in Alabama. So they have shuttles. Auburn does too. They're not affiliated technically with the university, but like groom shuttles that you can schedule that take quite a few trips to and from the near airports, whether it's the Birmingham airport, which is about an hour from Tuscaloosa, and then from Auburn to Atlanta is about an hour and a half. So that's typically how students get to and from. They take about 14 trips a day to and from the airport. And also you can have cars on campus to get to and from as well. I have a lot of students, Virginia people and Maryland people find each other, funny enough, on campus. So I have a lot of students that carpool, that just like meet each other, and they carpool a lot too as well.
Thank you for that information. And I remember when I was in college, there was like a carpool board that was in the student center. Is that something that you all have as well?
We have a ride share. I think it's like an app now.
Thank you. Anybody else have anything they want to add?
Penn State owns its, University Park has its own airport. It's called University Park Airport. So it only flies direct to DC, Philadelphia, Detroit. I think those are the only 3 hubs that it goes to. So you would have to, for students coming here, it's probably best to drive from Virginia to over to State College. But yeah, we do have shuttles as well to get students over on campus. It's only a 10-minute drive from the airport to our campus.
Thank you. And Yvonne, do a lot of your students carpool?
So freshmen cannot have cars on campus. You have to have 29.1 credits. So we do have a bus system. It's called the CADA bus system. It's a very large public transit system that just kind of, all the students take advantage of it. There are 4 different color lines on campus. So that's how they get around campus, because you would not be able to, it's too much work to walk everywhere to the classes. So usually students take that, on campus, but then outside of campus, you can also take that to get to grocery stores or just places that you need to get to, but it's not very big out here. So yeah.
Thank you. And our next question is going to be for North Carolina State. Should students take the SAT or the SAT subject tests?
I get the fun question. So I would say that I think students really have to research. So first, the seniors, this year, about close to 70% of universities are test optional. So if you don't have a test, there is a school that can accept you without having a test score. So you do have to do some research for that. Fairtest.org is a great place to look. They have a comprehensive list of schools that are test optional. And I'll answer the subject score test question as well. With subject test, there's very few schools that are going to require the subject test for admissions or even placement, especially with so many schools waiving a lot of the testing. I would say that I wouldn't advise a student unless they've researched and know that a school that they absolutely want to go to requires that you have the SAT subject test. Now, for my juniors and my sophomores and my freshman students, you want to do research to find out if for next year test scores are going to be waived. Currently in North Carolina, the public schools are saying that we're going to require tests again for my juniors and below. And so that may be different depending on the schools that you are looking at. So I would start, putting together a plan on how I can get the SAT or ACT, but also understand that these policies may change and shift as we adjust to whatever is going on with the coronavirus and the pandemic.
Thank you, Ronnie. And can you elaborate a little bit about, should a student take the SAT with an essay?
Oh, yes. So in North Carolina, the North Carolina public schools don't require the essay, but that's where you're going to have to do some of your research. I believe most schools I've seen do not require the essay, but there are some that do. So you do have to do a little bit of research there. So I would research your schools that you're interested in first before signing up to take the test. So you make sure to add on that portion if you know a school is going to require that.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to add?
I just want to say, just going back to the test optional, there are a lot of schools, as he just stated, that are going test optional, but I think a great thing about the state of Florida and Florida A&M with us not going test optional is that students will still need those SAT, ACT scores for certain scholarships. So even if our admissions requirements would have changed, that doesn't mean that the requirements for certain scholarships will change along with it, because that's just a lot of process, especially when it comes to merit-based scholarships. Of course, it has to be a way to separate the students that deserve it from everyone that's applying. So I just think that it's important for students to know that although a lot of schools are going test optional, you should still probably do your research to see what scholarships you're going to be interested in, because there are a lot of scholarships that students can get that have absolutely nothing to do with the university, but that scholarship may require that you have a SAT or ACT score. to submit to them. So just make sure that you're doing your research when you're applying for universities and colleges, but also make sure that you're doing your research when it comes to scholarships, because of course, no one wants to come out of pocket for school. I mean, even if you have the money, if you can go for free, that should always be the number one option. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your research, students. And taking the SAT, ACT is not the worst thing in the world. So I will just say that.
Thank you for that information. Those are good reminders. Thank you. And our next question is going to be for East Carolina University. Since you are test optional due to COVID, how will the SAT or the ACT benefit the college application process? And I know that was just spoken of a little bit, but if you have anything that you wanted to add, that would be great.
Specifically for ECU, when we say that we've waived the SAT or ACT requirements, that is for our merit-based scholarships in our honors college, actually. So if I'm being completely candid, test scores are not really being weighed in the process for us this year. Even if a student submits it, it's not going to change much because we aren't requiring it for other students. So if a student comes in with say a 2.7 GPA, but they scored really high on the SAT, and then you have another student that has a 2.7 GPA, but they didn't send in test scores, because we're not requiring those, it's not completely fair to take that into consideration because the other student might not have had the opportunity to take the test. So specifically for us, it's not going to do much. And we're kind of saying, if you didn't send it for free when you took it, don't pay to send it. I mean, unless you absolutely want to, because you're about to be paying for college. I don't want you to have to unnecessarily rack up these fees to send in test scores when we're not really going to take a look at that as much.
Thank you. Does anybody else have anything they want to add? So at this time, this concludes our Virginia Beach City Public Schools Pathways panel for frequently asked questions for out-of-state colleges. We want to let our students and parents know that there will be more Pathway series to come. Keep an eye out for military academies in December and military recruiters in two-year trade schools and programs in January. Also, make sure you check out our previous Pathway series on scholarships and frequently asked questions for Virginia colleges and universities. Thank you to all of the college representatives for participating today and sharing information with our students and families. We do greatly appreciate your time. Each high school has the contact information for our out-of-state college representatives. Please check with your school counselor for that information, and remember that your school counselors are here to help you with the college admissions process. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.